Publisher of the Centerville Press, and we want to welcome you to a Bibb Community Media video stream. I have with us today some very special guests that this county has a history with. Even though you may not know these folks, I'd like to ask if you would to introduce yourself. This gentleman is Daniel Paul Armantrout's brother, and he's our unknown boy who is now known, and we have had a memorial service today that I think was very lovely, and we appreciate the family being here. And we put some things in the press this past week, and we want to finish this story out by letting the family have an opportunity to tell us anything that they might know and anything that they might want to share about this. And I've also got Misty Elliott here, and I know she is the genealogist that worked with Don here and discovered Don and found out who he was and talked to him first. So she's the lady who actually was the person who said, "We know we've got a hit." So she's the one that was the first to know who Daniel was. So if I may, I'd like for you to introduce yourself, if you would, and tell us a little about maybe your birthday and a little bit about yourself first.
Yes, I'm Don Hamilton, and I'm November 28th, 1943, so I just had my birthday last month, and I was 78. Danny was 76 today, had he been living, and the last time I saw Danny was December 1960, when I was a young recruit in the Army, and I went home for Christmas vacation, Christmas leave, and after I went back in January of '61, I found out that Danny had run away from home. And after that, I guess...
So where were y'all living at that time? What city?
We were living in Paris, Tennessee.
Paris, Tennessee.
But we were actually born and raised in Miami, Florida. And my stepfather was a construction worker, so we moved with company to company. And they moved to Paris, Tennessee. And that's where I went in the Army, and that's where.
Do you know much about yours and Danny's father, and his birth and his growing up years, or anything much about him?
No, because when I was 4, my mother got divorced, and in the 40s we weren't allowed to know who our real father was. And come to find out later through Misty that he passed away in Georgia in 1976. So I never knew my father.
That's interesting. So the genealogy research that you did made discoveries for you way beyond just Danny. You were able to find out a lot more things about your family. Am I right?
Well, just my father, because again, it's a bad story, because my stepfather that I thought was my stepfather was never adopted. He never adopted us. But he also had a real bad situation in his family, so he changed his name. So because of that, Misty could never get any history of my stepfather, because that wasn't his real name either. It wasn't Hamilton. It was something else.
You're something else, aren't you?
So I am the only surviving on my either side of my family. And I have a brother that's also, an older brother that's also missing, that was 80 years old the 2nd of February this past, and he's missing. And Misty's going to try to find him.
Wonderful.
So our family life was really bad back then. We have no history of our family.
I want you to know how much I appreciate you coming and spending some time letting the people of Bibb County know what you know, and sharing Danny with us, letting us keep him here. We appreciate that. Would you introduce your girlfriend here?
My wife, Tara.
Hi, Tara.
41 years we've been married.
Awesome. And Tara, where are you from?
I was born in Trinidad.
Trinidad.
West Indies, yes. Left Trinidad at the age of 17, went to London all by myself. That's what families did then.
That's right.
Send their kids out for education. And my job was to bring them in, but I couldn't handle it at the age of 17, so that never happened. But I did go to college there and became a British registered dietitian. I hated that job. I didn't enjoy doing it at all. So when I met Don, we traveled. I tried to.
Where did y'all meet?
In Nuremberg, Germany.
Nuremberg, Germany.
Yes, he was stationed there.
Awesome.
And I was working.
What year did y'all meet?
78,
Yeah, some. Is it?
78, 79.
You did
Married
good.
1980.
You did good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We're glad you're here. I would like to know a little bit more about you, if I may, Misty, and we'll come back, Don, if that's all right. You have a fascinating career choice, and you're doing some remarkable work. But I'd like you to tell us a little bit about how this was funded. There's a fellow named Gray Hughes
Yes.
that I haven't really learned enough about myself yet. But that Gray Hughes funding of this project really is what put the grease under the wheels to make it move forward. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Would you tell us a little bit about Gray Hughes?
So Gray Hughes has a YouTube channel called Gray Hughes Investigates, and he runs a show based on true crime, essentially. Anything that's in the mass media, unsolved cold cases, anything of that nature. He's got a very big following that they're called the Freaks. That's what they call themselves. And during his YouTube show, they contribute money to his funds, and he actually donates money to quite a few different organizations. To us personally, Identifinders International, I believe he's donated over 10 grand at this point. And so when I had found interest in this case and I came across it online and I suggested it to my boss, we knew there were going to be funding issues with getting it done. So we called Gray and we told him about the Bibb County John Doe, and he immediately was enamored with it, and he offered to pay for the entire thing, and he graciously paid for all the DNA testing, all the genealogy work, and absolutely everything from start to finish for this case.
Well, there are, he probably won't agree with this, but sometimes you run across angels unaware, don't you?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
to Gray Hughes, we owe a debt of gratitude
Yes.
Yes, we do.
for the work that all those freaks do.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Well, that's awesome. Well, if I may, I would like to ask if you would, any of you, we've attended the memorial service today, and I'd love to know what you think about our little community called Bibb County.
Well, I think, as I said, Danny got more love from this town after he passed than when he was alive, from anybody, and that's a lot.
Well, that is a good thing, and all good things come down from the Father of lights.
That's right.
So it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
And it's a good thing to have y'all with us today. Guys, can y'all think of any other questions that we might want to ask the family?
I just wanted to say that
Please.
it was, it's so unbelievable that so much love and devotion, compassion, that was passed on from one generation to another. Even though the original people who were around, they're no longer here, their families carried this on, and I found that astonishing. I don't know that you would find that anyplace else but Centerville, and for that we will be eternally grateful.
I would like to say one thing too that a lot of people don't know. Danny had polio, and so he had a brace on his right leg, and that's the reason he could not get out of the car, because he couldn't swim with that brace on. And most people, that's how CW found out at the very end that it was Danny. Nobody knew about the polio and the brace but me or a family member, and that's what helped solve the case.
It's amazing how things
He kept that out.
Yes, sir.
And when he asked Danny had a limp, why? And I told him, and he said, "That's
That
Danny."
makes sense, yeah.
So that was the
Well, you couldn't imagine in your wildest dreams the pieces that came together to make this day a special day for us, and hopefully for Danny and Bibb County.
Not one person, but a whole town and whole community.
Well, if Danny's life was short, and it was, he had more of an impact on a community than the people that normally live in a community their entire lives.
Yes.
For whatever reason, this community, and I think it's because we all recognize that there is a common bond in all of us, that we're all created in the image of God.
That's right.
And so we all have that relationship. We all are equal in that. And this community, I think, recognized that something was missing here, something was lost, and it touched them. And they responded as if it was one of their own. And to see it come to this place, where today we had a lovely memorial service. We know where Danny is. We know who Danny is. And now Bibb County has a story that they can tell way on into the future. And that's why I was hoping that you gracious folks would stop by.
And they have no more unsolved cases.
Interesting. Not in Bibb County that I know of.
That's right. Yeah. So
not that I know of, no sir.
This was a closure for a lot of people, especially for Jim Oakley.
Yeah, Indian Sweet guy.
Yes.
You know, he and his family, his family are the ones that bought the Central Press newspaper back in the 1880s.
Right.
So that tells you how long the family's
A lot of
been
history in this small town.
Yes, sir.
With Danny.
Well, one thing we don't do is get very progressive. We just kind of roll along with the ages.
So when we come back next year, the town will be the same.
Well, when the 1st Wisconsin Regimental Cavalry came here on April the 2nd in 1865, if they came back, it looked just like it did when they were here before.
Okay.
Well, I deeply appreciate you folks coming. And I know you've got some traveling to do and you've got some places to go to. I don't want to keep you long. But I do want you to feel free to say anything you'd like to our community. Our community wants to say to you, we're very grateful for Danny. He made a difference in this community. And his life was not without value. No. It meant everything to this community to get this, see this accomplished. This community's been deeply touched. And our great thanks to Gray Hughes and to Dr. Fitzpatrick and all of the folks that have stepped out, done their work with a diligence that's beyond the pay that I'm sure they get. So we could have this day. So thank you, folks. We appreciate you coming so very much. God bless you. Safe travels. God bless you. And the door to Centerville and Bibb County are always open to you, folks.
I have a key.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to everyone in Bibb County for taking care of Danny for all these years, and to Misty for bringing Danny to us.
Closure to a lot of people.
Yes, sir.
Even back home, so many of our friends was followed the case once 28th of October came about, and our church had a special mass. And in our Catholic Church, November is the month of remembrance. So they lit a candle the whole month of November for Danny.
That is pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive.
So we're all touched.
Yes.
All of us who know what human life is like and the struggles that can occur recognize that we're in it together.
And everybody has a struggle in their life.
Absolutely, sir. There's not a one of us that doesn't. But we do it better when we do it together.
That's right.
Misty, do you have anything working on the other brother?
Currently, I believe Allison Peacock, who also worked on the case with me, has a request in to do a search on his social security number to see if it's been used nationwide, do a nationwide database, and we haven't heard of the results yet.
Okay.
Would you let us know if you hear anything? We'd love to.
Absolutely.
We'd love to know.
Absolutely.
We'll add a little more to the story.
There you go.
Second brother found, huh?
That would be an amazing
It
thing.
would be.
What was the name
I
of
hope that
your
may happen.
What was the name of your church that lit the candle? We'd like to call that out probably.
St. Patrick Catholic Church in Largo, Florida.
Cool, excellent, thank you.
And we appreciate those people's concern also, and their prayers.
Yes.
And we
Well,
will try to keep
I'm
them in
the
mind.
head sacristan at the church. So I set up the altar and make sure everything is ready for the priest. On Thursday and Sunday mornings I go.
Cool.
So we're quite involved in the church.
Well, it shows. It shows. Thank you, and I appreciate you folks stopping by and spending some of your
And
valuable
thank you for
time.
the interview. Thank you so much. To get the story out, maybe it will help somebody else who's lost their loved one.
I think it's a good thing that we encourage people to look into Gray Hughes and Identifinders and the work that they do. It may be something that people around here might want to get more involved in.
Well, years ago you didn't have the opportunity.
Didn't know what it was,
You couldn't
yeah.
find. So if one person could be found after today, that's another blessing.
And it's a big blessing. Isn't
Yes, it is. For a family, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
interview.
Thank you.
Good? Okay, cool.
Okay.